Hi, this is Curtis Miles. I'd like to talk to you today about IBM MobileFirst Foundation version 8. So there have been some very significant enhancements to version 8 over some of the previous versions, and so I'd like to take you through those. But maybe before we do that, um, let's start with a little bit of a quick overview here. And then we'll spend actually most of our time looking at a specific demonstration that we can walk through to see all this stuff live. But I want to put a definition up of what, my personal definition of, what is the IBM MobileFirst platform. So I would describe the MobileFirst platform as a modular set of libraries, tools, and runtimes that help you easily create, manage, and evolve great mobile apps. Okay, so, interesting definition. Maybe sounds a little bit generic, but what I want to do is dive in here and look at some of the individual kind of pieces of this definition and call them out and see exactly what I'm talking about here. So the first is this idea of it being a modular set of things. In a couple of minutes, we're going to paint a picture of all the things that are part of the MobileFirst platform. But the one thing to understand is that you actually don't need to use everything all at once, right? It's not an all or nothing proposition. You can look at the different capabilities that we have in MobileFirst, and you can say, hey, that actually solves a particular problem that I've got in the world of mobile, with some of my mobile projects, and so I actually just want to take advantage of that one capability, or maybe there's a couple capabilities that together you think could really provide you some value. That is fundamental to the design philosophy of the MobileFirst platform. We want to make it easy for you to pull things in, to use the pieces that are relevant for you. And that also involves actually using things from the external community. So open source tools that you find to be valuable or different capabilities from other organizations. We're not trying to lock you in to all IBM, everything must be the MobileFirst way in order to build your apps. We want to make it possible for you to build your apps in the way that is most applicable for you and that gives you the most benefit. So MobileFirst platform is fundamentally modular. Second thing here is that it's a collection of libraries, tools, and runtimes. What you'll see is that the things that is part of MobileFirst really are different types, right? We've got some libraries, so it's things that are going to be packaged up into capabilities that are running on the device to do things that you couldn't do before, or capabilities that are running on the server side to provide some sort of specific functionality. There are tools, right? So there are pieces that will help you be more effective in either your creation or your management of mobile apps. And then there's this element of a runtime, kind of a mobile middleware, right? Which is a service kind of backbone for running your mobile apps and getting at that valuable data that makes sense to surface up through your mobile channel. So a variety of different types of things that together make up the MobileFirst platform. So the next part here is this idea of making it easy to create, manage, and evolve your apps. So fundamentally, we're talking about the end-to-end lifecycle here, right? All the way from building your app in the first place to building the next version of your app, right? And managing all of those versions across all the devices and across all of the the different runtime operating systems that you've got, having those all be able to be controlled and easily handled from one central place. So it's kind of the end-to-end cycle. And I really want to focus on this because it's about a lot more than just creating, right? When we think about mobile, we think, hey, I've got to write something, I've got to create this app. There are a lot of ways, a lot of very simple ways that you can create apps. But creating apps and allowing them to be managed with the complexity that grows over time, and then making sure that you have the ability to continually release new versions of that app easily, often as frequently as every 2 weeks, right? This is what customers are demanding these days in terms of updates and, what have you done for me lately type of mentality. So that end-to-end life cycle and being able to support you along the way is very critical. And then the last line sounds like a bit of a throwaway, right? We want to help you build great mobile apps. Well, of course we do. But really want to focus on that because we want to be helping you to create the app that actually people come back to and use more than once. Your phone, if your phone is anything like my phone, is full of apps that you have downloaded, you've tried, you've thought, maybe it does something kind of interesting and maybe I'll use it, so I haven't actually deleted it. Sometimes you just download something and just delete it right away. But we want to help you build those apps that people come back to over and over again, right? That are providing some critical piece of capability or some functionality that is just, so compelling that people want to come back to it as a means of helping your mobile strategy be successful. Okay, so that's the end-to-end definition. But what I want to do now is just dive into a little bit more detail, because when we talk about Mobile First Foundation, we're really fundamentally talking about 5 key areas of functionality. We're talking about comprehensive security. Now, security means a lot of different things in the world of mobile, and we'll get into some of that, of the different ways that we have security. But what we're all about here is really keeping you off the front page of the newspaper for all the wrong reasons, right? You do not want to be that company that has to report that your mobile application was hacked and customer data was leaked, whatever the case may be. Security is first and foremost to our concerns at IBM, and we have worked with the world's largest organizations to make sure that they are safe in this respect. So security, absolutely critical to your mobile projects, and something that we have inside of Mobile First Foundation in a variety of form factors. Second is this idea of app lifecycle management. So we talked about the rapid pace of change in mobile and how quickly people are requiring new mobile app versions to come out. And of course, this does lead to that kind of massive proliferation of complexity across your different apps, your different devices, your different versions, right? If you just think about what that looks like in terms of the number of different things that you're supporting all at one time, that's why app lifecycle management is so important. You want to make sure that you've got the ability to turn off that old version of the app that you just can't afford to support anymore because you've got to make way for the new stuff, or even having the ability to shut off a particular version on a particular platform because you've found some particular security vulnerability. Whatever the case may be, having visibility and control over the entire life cycle of that mobile application is very important. And then from a mobile analytics standpoint, you don't want to be flying blind in the world of mobile, right? It is difficult to get insight in terms of what your customers are doing, what they're liking on your app, what they're not liking. So you have to take every advantage that you can to be able to collect that information so that for the next version of their app that you're going to create and use the features and functions that they actually are looking to benefit from, right? Giving you that visibility into mobile analytics, as well as the ability to troubleshoot very quickly any problems that are discovered in the field once your app goes live, to prevent damage to your brand, is fundamental. So mobile analytics is what covers that. And then from a back-end logic perspective, you want to have the ability to connect into your existing systems of record. If your app is just a standalone app that's just running on the device, chances are it's not doing anything super interesting, right? But having the ability to connect into back-end services and then dynamically configure how a particular app might connect into those back-end services so that they can be reused for a variety of different apps is critical. And so that kind of falls into this category of back-end logic. And then there's a set of services that just are critical and required for almost every mobile app. So we're talking about things here like push notification, the ability to store data locally on the device so you can work when the network connection drops, and then the ability to synchronize any data that you've stored while you were offline so that you can get the latest updates and push them back to the back end to be stored in your repositories. So just a set of core services that we kind of put into this this last category of things that we just want to provide you so that you don't have to write them yourself. You've got kind of a one-stop shop for a bunch of those things that we know that you're going to need. So those 5 categories is really what all of this functionality kind of boils down into. And at the end of the day, what we're hoping for, and what we're designed to help you with, is taking all of that stuff that we just talked about, which, by the way, is usually not the glamorous part of mobile development, right? Nobody really wants to write security code. If you're a developer and your developers are probably not thinking about app management, right? As a developer myself, the pieces that I'm most interested in are the things, or the time, what's the code I can write, what's the new features I can put in, what's the cool things I can take advantage of. I'm not thinking about what it's going to take my operations team to go and support this. So, we'll take care of that. Mobile analytics, back-end logic, essential services, all of these things are actually not the fun part of development. So our value proposition is let us do those for you so that you can spend more time on the stuff above the surface, right? That's kind of the picture of the tree here. Let us do the roots. Let us handle all of that stuff so that you can focus on the user experience, creating the capabilities that are going to delight your customers and keeping them coming back to your app over and over again. Okay, so that's what we're all about. Now, if you have heard of the MobileFirst platform before, or what IBM is doing in mobile, you may have heard of something called Worklight, which is the previous name of the MobileFirst Foundation. And we renamed it a little while ago. And the reason that we did that is because there was a fundamental shift that we made in the product. So when we first came out with Worklight in 2012, it was fundamentally all about creating what we were calling hybrid mobile applications. So mobile applications that were basically written with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS at the time, which was great. It was really helpful to be able to write kind of one code base and have that run in many places. But as the market has evolved, we evolved with it, with our mobile capabilities, and we fundamentally have no opinion at this point of where you are on this mobile spectrum, going all the way from your mobile website, which is critical, all the way to your native applications running on the phone, which is important as well. You can write it in whatever technology makes sense. Now, we still have great support for writing hybrid mobile applications with Cordova and Ionic, and pick your favorite library of choice. But if you are all about native, and there are great reasons to be all about native, then go for that path, right? We will provide you capabilities and support that we talked about on the previous page, regardless of your choice of technology. So pick your favorite flavor of mobile and go with it, and we'll be there to help you. Okay, so I want to tell a bit of a story here, paint a picture so that we can see what is in the box of IBM MobileFirst Platform. Like what is the MobileFirst Platform really consist of? So I want to start with this from the perspective of the developer. And so when you're a developer, you're writing code, right? And you need some place to write that code. Now, if you're writing a native app, then you're probably writing this in an Android Studio or an Xcode. But if you're writing a Cordova-based app, then there are a variety of choices of where you can write this. And we really don't want to lock you into any one particular place for you to write that code. So we have a BYOT, bring your own tools, right? Now, if you don't have a tool that you are using right now, we have an Eclipse-based tool called MobileFirst Studio, and it's actually a set of plugins, simple plugins into Eclipse that make it possible to interact with the MobileFirst ecosystem directly from that environment. But fundamentally, use the tools that are most familiar to you and your developers, and we'll be there to help. Now, when you're writing mobile apps, you're basically writing two things, right? You're writing the functionality that runs on the phone, and then you're also writing a set of back-end capabilities, and those back-end capabilities are really all about getting at the systems of record, or that data that you've got in your organization that you want to surface up through that mobile channel. Now, as we do that, we're calling into something that we call adapters on the MobileFirst server, and this is where we really start to think about security, right? And there's kind of three core areas here that security comes into play. The first is the fact that we're actually storing some information on the device typically, right, if we're using any kind of offline use cases. And so we want to make sure that the information that we're storing on that device is secured with military-grade encryption, right, where we are fundamentally careful about the fact that if somebody were to find your phone in a taxi cab and they jailbreak it or they root it and they get access to all of the information on that phone, we want to make it still impossible for them to be able to get at that private, sensitive information that you have collected as part of your app. So security on the device is critical. And then when it comes to actually the communication channel between the device and the mobile backend, there's another element of security here that we provide, which makes it easy to do what's called certificate pinning. And that just protects that communication channel between your device and your backend to make sure that nobody is snooping in on that traffic, right? So that's another fundamental element of security. And then when it comes into your back end, how do you make sure that the only things that are accessing those mobile services that you're exposing out to the world, right, when you're doing it through mobile, everything is visible on the public internet. How do you make sure that the only thing that is calling those back end services is the authentic version of your app that you have packaged and put into the App Store, right? That is something that we call application authenticity, and it really helps provide your protection for your back-end services to make sure that those are as secure as they can be. And then there's a variety of other security elements in here, but that's kind of the core pieces. Okay, so we write this code, it runs in these two places. There's also a much bigger conversation that we can have here around relationships to APIs. Right? IBM has a capability called API Connect, and certainly this little gray arrow does not do it justice. It's a much broader conversation, a much more interesting conversation about how you connect into your organizational APIs and how you can expose those and reuse them across channels. But just know that we can have that conversation, and If you're looking for an API capability, then API Connect is fantastic, and it dovetails perfectly with your mobile strategy. Okay, so let's look at our next role here, which is that of the administrator or operational support person. And so this person is actually responsible for using something that we call the operations console to manage mobile applications once they are deployed, right? So you've got visibility, like I said, into the different applications across your different device types, across all the different versions that you've got running in parallel. This is where you go. This is where the operational and support folks go to get that visibility and to do any kind of management of that environment that they need. They are also using something that is called our mobile analytics capability. So we have a web-based dashboard for seeing mobile analytics and even being able to create custom analytics directly on the fly, saving you the need to kind of extract data, take it into a complex, expensive BI tool to be able to make sense of what's happening in your mobile ecosystem. So mobile analytics, and it's useful for more than just operational support, although we do have great capabilities in there for troubleshooting problems that happen in your mobile environment, being able to see if there's any performance slowdowns or network degradations that you need to take into account that are affecting your mobile user experience, etc. But that's a whole category of things that we'll take a look at called mobile analytics. Now, of course, when you're writing an app, if you're writing it for customers that are outside of your company, that you're probably not directly pushing this out onto their phone as much as you'd like to, you are going through an app store, right? And so that's great. When you are writing for employees, though, it's possible that you are looking for a way to be able to distribute that app out to your employees. And for that, we have something called the App Center. So you can kind of think of the App Center as a B2E app store. So it's a central place where you can publish your apps across the different platforms that you're supporting, so that your employees or whoever needs to be able to get access to them can come in and get access from that App Center and install them directly on their phone, right from there. Now, in organizations that have a mobile device management solution, such as IBM MobileFirst and there are others, those typically come with an enterprise app store as well. And so we often see that those app stores are used kind of as the corporate app store. This is the official place to go for all of the stamped mobile applications that have been developed that we want to distribute out to our employees. But in many organizations, getting something into that app store can be challenging, and there's often a lot of processes surrounding it. So from a standpoint of testing and distributing apps out to your testers and your beta users, etc., it can often be very difficult to use that enterprise app store for that purpose. And so we actually see the App Center used there quite a bit. So it's where people can actually distribute their mobile apps, put them into a central place, have all of their development and testing teams come to that one central place to get the latest version, and not have to worry about all the red tape of publishing that into the enterprise app store until it's time to do that and you're finally ready with that finished version that's gone through all of the rigor. Now, as you're developing your mobile apps, it can be very handy to have a capability to do automated testing. So think about all of the different tests that you want to do on your mobile app. Think about the tests that you want to rerun on your mobile application whenever you make a change. And now think about having to have somebody sit in front of a phone or multiple device types and tap buttons and tap the screen all day just to make sure that you didn't break anything because of your most recent change. That is what this automated testing capability is all about. We have a fantastic partnership with SOSTA, who is the industry-leading automated testing tool for mobile. And so we integrate very well with SOSTA, give you the capability to run those automated tests as part of a regression cycle, report on the results, etc. So very handy when it comes to actually deploying at scale and getting to that ability to evolve your mobile app very quickly without spending time and money to do all of that regression testing. And then this concept of feedback is very critical. If you think about your mobile application development, and you think about a time maybe where you've had an app that you've put out and you went into a beta mode and you wanted to distribute it out to a few of your employees to test out before you went live, maybe to some senior stakeholders in your company who had, were championing your mobile strategy, and you sent them out your app and you said, hey, okay, give me any feedback. And then you really didn't hear very much back. And so you didn't really know whether to interpret that as, hey, this is good and people like it, or, what's going on. Mobile quality assurance is all about making it super simple for people to be able to provide you feedback on your app. both at the time of beta testing when you're trying to get internal feedback before you've gone live, and then you can even use this to capture feedback from your customers once your application is live out there in production. And so all they have to do is, as they're using the app, they can just shake the phone. They shake their phone at, if you're in this beta mode, it automatically takes a screenshot of whatever was on the phone at the time, gives them the ability to draw on the screen to show whatever it is that they want to comment on, put in a quick comment, hit send, and be done. So it really essentially takes the time down from, about 20 minutes to report a bug otherwise, down to about 2 minutes. And if you think about what it takes to kind of report a bug, or to kind of offer feedback on an app without having this kind of capability, it's like, okay, well, I just use this app, and I've got some feedback, and okay, where's that email that I've got to go? Who do I tell about this feedback? Okay, let me find that in my inbox. Let me go to the website where I've actually got to, go and enter in my comments. Now, it would be great if I could take a screenshot. How do I get that screenshot off the phone? And you spend time Googling how to take a screenshot on your phone, and by the end of the time, it really is about 20 minutes of time it takes to be able to report a bug. And so what you find is that people don't actually report anything. But with this, down to 2 minutes, you'll actually get feedback. It's fantastic. Okay, and our last piece is a capability that we have that gives line of business users the ability to manage content independently of IT. So you can think about this like a content management system for mobile. And directly from a dashboard, people can come in. There's a workflow involved in terms of getting content reviewed, so that all of that process can happen outside the context of your IT team. The line of business can be working on keeping up to date in terms of images that are scaled appropriately for the device types and served up in that way, and just keep that content up to date and fresh so that your users have engaging experiences without needing to burden the IT team with consistently making changes into your mobile app. And so that's all about adaptive content. Okay, so at the end of the day, that is our picture of MobileFirst, right? That is our MobileFirst platform. The pieces that are in blue are part of MobileFirst Foundation, which we'll go ahead and dive into in a second. But at the end of the day, that is the pieces that make up our MobileFirst platform. So let's go ahead and dive in and see this in action.